Hello, everyone. I'm so excited today to share with you Emma from across the pond in Australia, Sydney, Australia. And Emma is the founder and writer of Love, Breath, Space. And she tells me that it's specifically that way so that we can slow down when we say her business. And I love it. It's a mouthful, but it's so full. You see her website and you speak to Emma, and she really is all of those things. She's loving and she's got this sense of taking a deep breath and we can feel spaciousness. So the reason I brought Emma here to speak with us today is about mudras. So I wrote a blog post, Emma, a few years ago, and I dove into research about mudras. It was something that we learned in teacher training with Katie, who's a similar colleague of ours, and wasn't something I feel an expert on. So we had a lot of customers asking us, can you put together some mudra cards for children? And I wrote an article with 5 mudras that I felt comfortable that I would teach my daughter, I would teach in schools. But when I heard about what you do, and you're an expert with mudras, I just had to have you come and speak to our community here to help us dive a little bit deeper into what are mudras and what's this all about. But before we go into that, I'd love for you to talk to us about, your background, your passion, and your work so we can get to know you.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Giselle. And firstly, I'm just so thrilled to be here and talking to you and your beautiful audience. I absolutely love what you're doing. I think it's a really important and needed thing, especially teaching these beautiful practices to children. It's just so important at that young age when you're so impressionable. And I think mudras are just a beautiful tool that can be added to a mindful practice. And they're just so playful and fun. They have a real childlike quality in nature as well, I feel. So they're just a lovely add-on. And I love your blog post, by the way. The mudras that you've highlighted are mudras that I would also recommend. Absolutely, hands down. That is a pun intended. So I just, they're just, so if you haven't read that blog post, absolutely, people really should read it. It's beautiful. And so yes, my background, it's, I'll try and keep it really brief, but firstly, I came to the love, breath, space idea many years ago, and I really wanted a place to share simple ancient wisdom and make it relevant to today's world, because I mean, these tools and practices are just, they've been around for thousands of years and they are so incredible. And I feel really needed today in particular, with things, speeding up as they are, coming back to things like meditation, yoga, mudras, breath, which is just the key to pretty much everything. They're just, it's just, so really the idea came around as just a place to share and also share my experience and help other people experience the benefits of these beautiful tools. So my journey starts a long time ago with this work. In 1995, I actually came across a spiritual school with a meditation aspect to it, quite predominant actually, meditation aspect and breath work. And I've been part of that school since that time. And since joining that school, I've had a daily meditation practice. And I really believe that has changed the whole trajectory of my life since I became part of that school. So I'm very passionate about meditation. And then alongside all of that, I've had a career in corporate world, marketing, graphic design, communications. And then I've also had a very big love of yoga, which started as well a long time ago when I was a kid, when mum used to take me to the class she was attending, and everyone was about 30 or 40 years older than me. And this is back in the day where there weren't really yoga classes or teachers around. It was, Yeah, it's a long time ago. So I remember that was really the first time as a child I experienced a whole being sense of peace, like particularly at the end of a class. And interestingly, when I started my work with meditation, that memory came back of
Mm,
that time in those yoga classes. And I loved those classes, and I would just I would really look forward to them every week. It was it and on reflection, it's always on reflection, but I feel that I experienced a different way of seeing the world just in those few moments of experience that full kind of body sense of peace. So then I practiced yoga on and off over the years, all through my teens, my 20s, my 30s. And finally I found a teacher training that I could fit in with my life because I was always looking for teacher training, but it just never aligned. I was always too busy or the timing. And so finally I found one, and the teacher training actually happened to be in the building I was working in at the time. So it was just incredible. I'd go on my lunch break and do training and make up hours and teach. So I did that in 2016.
mm,
At the same time, I got really sick, um, which was interesting. And I was so sick that I found walking difficult.
mm,
And that went on for quite a few months of that particular year when I was doing the teacher training for yoga. And that's when the mudra journey began,
mm,
because I wasn't well enough to even do asana practice.
mm,
I wasn't well enough or had the energy to even do meditation, which is
mm,
something I've done all the way through.
mm.
So I was like, what can I do? I'm just stuck here. I can hardly brush my teeth. My mental health was declining as well. And I was awaiting results on tests, and it was all really stressful, and there were multiple things happening. And I just started exploring mudras. I don't even really know what happened, but it was like, what can I do to
Yeah.
support myself here? And I started looking into them. And then I just basically dove down a rabbit hole, and I was researching and I was practicing. And slowly, 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 I got myself out of that hole.
Mm,
I also got diagnosis, which was incredibly empowering because I had a way forward. And so I started lifting out of something really dark. And I absolutely believe the mudras just added some layer of support. I don't feel they are the answer. I don't think anything's really the answer to anything, but I feel like they add this kind of help. They're a help, they're a tool. If you're practicing Dhyana Mudra, the mudra of meditation,
yeah.
which is such a beautiful mudra, it actually takes you into a deeper state of meditation. I really feel this mudra is, I mean, they're all really special, but it's like they're kind of a balm. So if you cut yourself and you apply a balm or an
Mm,
antiseptic, you're going to heal quicker. And it's like mudras are sort of like this balm that they just take you that little bit further.
mm,
And I feel what's really amazing about them is you can use them sort of on their own, but you don't necessarily need to be meditating to use them. So you can have a bit of fun with them. Like I even use Jnana Mudra, this one, which is really common. We all know this one. We all love this one. I use this when I'm out in the supermarket, when I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed,
right.
because it instantly grounds me and it gives me that kind of centeredness in the solar plexus. It just sort of activates something there. And so there's ways you can use mudras in your day as well
I use
as
that when trying to get to sleep at night. So I'll just
ah,
have my hands there and yeah, I use them quite
that's
often. So I focus on my breath and use that too. I love that. I
that's
love
so
so much of what you're
interesting.
saying, Emma, because I love knowing that there's a journey behind all of us, and it doesn't have to be that we've practiced yoga. I also learned from my mom too, so there's a long journey you've had, but yoga, I think we need to remember sometimes that yoga is multifaceted, and we want to follow where it takes us. So for example, you were practicing the physical postures at one point, and then meditation, and then mudras found you because it's different times in your life. And I think that these days, so many of us get hung up on, especially here in the United States, we see the magazines, and the main thing about yoga is what we look like, right? And the physical postures, the asana. And I think that's beautiful for you to just take us down this journey of, you have to, look in yourself, right? It's that connection, and find out what is for you right now. And now the mudras was a way for you out of the illness, and this may change for you as you go on, and you'll always carry that special journey with the mudras, but it may shape and change as you go. And I think that's a great reminder that honor the journey, honor where you're at. And there's so many tools within yoga to pull upon that still at the end of the day give you these incredible benefits, right? And this is what we want to share with children.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like the journey just keeps unfolding, and
Right.
I'm still learning about them. I'm still learning how to use them, and that is the exciting part. If you just think you know everything, I mean, that's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
But it's I think, yeah, that's the way to absolutely be. And what's interesting too about mudras, just one thing I'd like to add, is that when I started learning about them, I started seeing people doing them all the time out in life, like
Right.
particularly in, it's very noticeable in the meditation group I'm part of. Half the people there wouldn't know about yoga mudras, but half the people there are sitting in dhyana mudra.
Mm.
And I realized I was doing that for about a decade or two before I knew what I was doing. And I think what that really highlights is that the body knows what it needs. Like, what you need to go to sleep, and that helps you. So
Right.
you do that. And that's why they're amazing. Like this one, Hakini, which is just all the pads of the fingers touching.
Mm.
You will start, now I've shown you, I mean, you probably already know about this one, but if you don't, you will start seeing people doing this mudra all the time now. I absolutely swear. Like, I see people on, news readers on TV
Right.
will be presenting, and they'll be doing this.
Yeah.
And
Right.
sometimes it's up here, but often it's a bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting, once you're aware, they are everywhere, because we're always trying to return to a place of healing, and the body knows what's going to support itself.
Right, I love it. So now, taking the, is there a definition of mudras that you can explain? Because when I was telling my daughter's 12, and I was saying, I'm coming to see you. I'm talking to Emma from Sydney, Australia. And, that's exciting for her as well, right? Because we were just there a few months ago. And I said, we're going to speak about mudras. She said, well, what are those? And I said, well, they're hand gestures. And I was trying to say, she said, I don't know what those are. And so I said, well, I learn all about it and come back to report. So, what would you say? How do you explain to a child, what is a mudra? What's this all about?
Yeah, well, I guess the simplest way to explain them is that the hands connect energetically to all parts of the body. So when you're taking a mudra, you're activating channels in the body. So in yogic terms, we call them nadis, which are the channels, the flow of energy, the prana. Chinese system is meridians. So there's all different names for what we're activating. But so by taking, I guess, a nice way to explain it to a child would be taking prayer pose. And you can say, what do you feel? What are you feeling right now? Because this is such an accepted mudra in the whole world, in the East and the West. We all know what this actually means something. And this gesture is bringing us to a place of prayer, and of humility and of reverence. And when you take that pose, you feel that. So it's a nice example, I guess, for a child, to bring it into a really practical setting. Like,
Right.
what does this feel to you? What are you experiencing when you do this?
Right. And if you hold it too, you can feel the heat, you can feel the
Yeah.
energy. I think they do this thing where you can try and separate your hands and you can feel the energy between them,
Feel,
right?
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lovely thing to play with, is growing that energy.
Right.
And you can feel that in time, it just builds.
Yeah.
It becomes quite a force field, and you can even really grow it if you want.
Right. And what would
Yeah.
you say to somebody who's quite cynical? They think, oh, well, whatever, I'm just putting my fingers there or here, or whatever. Have you worked with anybody who's been a little cynical or not sure?
Giselle, I haven't come across anyone yet, but I'm sure I will, and I probably need to be really prepared for that question.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's all about I think coming back to that point of like feeling, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the yoga postures, right? Same thing with meditation and mindfulness. Like, how does it make you feel and how does it make you think?
Mm.
If you have any kind of benefit at all, that's
Yeah.
our journey. It's really is a personal journey, right?
Exactly. And I think too, like, again, with that cynical person, coming back to this pose again, I mean, someone's got to be onto something, right? If we've been practicing this mudra for like thousands of years, and we see incredible, I'm just looking at a beautiful dancing Shiva that I've got in front of me, who's practicing a mudra, all these kind of, beautiful deities and gods. They're all taking a mudra pose. Buddha, I've got an incredible wooden Buddha statue doing the most amazing mudra. So there's absolutely got to be something in them.
Absolutely. Now,
Mm.
do you have any other suggestions? So say a teacher, a kids yoga teacher, or if it's an educator or a parent wanted to try just three. So you were talking about this one, the prayer one. Do you have any other quick and easy way, somewhere to start for people?
Absolutely. I think we can come back to Hakini, this
Okay.
lovely one, just because it's so playful and it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
And this mudra is really calming. So I think, this could be useful for parents, or it could be useful for yoga teachers as well.
And can we
As
and we can breathe, right? We can add the breathing practice. So in our world, we're big fans of breathing with children.
Yeah.
So we breathe, and if this looks to me like a tent, so you could be saying, we're going to
Yeah.
blow our tent, just lightly, pretend there's a breeze coming and we're camping, right? So we could breathe in
Yep.
and give a little breeze,
That's such a good idea. I
right?
love
Or we could
that.
pretend there's a little fire on the inside of your tent,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
or there's a star up at night and there's a little breeze or a cloud passing by. So we can turn that into something that it uses their creativity, imagination, right? In that piece and add. Yeah,
Really.
I love that.
I like to I really like, the way of incorporating the breath so creatively, like blowing, like stoking a fire. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Another thing I like to imagine is holding a really precious object,
Oh,
something really precious. And
yeah.
it's like imagining that is real in between your hands. But
Yeah.
I think too, finding a way to incorporate that breath,
Yeah.
that's just going to take it to another level. And I mean, even just holding this right now,
Yeah.
I can feel the focus. It's this mudra is all about focus.
Right. I was just
You
going to say that. Yeah. For all the listeners, please try this too as we're doing.
Yeah.
I was thinking that with mindfulness too, right? You could also be what you talked about, like a gem. So having them look in the middle and think about, what does my gem look like? What
Yeah.
color is it? What's the shape? And so just use it, like you said, for focus, right? They can use
Yes.
their creativity, imagination, creating a
Yeah.
whole story around it. Or maybe it's your little village,
And exactly, create a story. And the mudra can move, like it doesn't have to stay, it's traditionally practiced at the heart center.
Yeah, right.
However, it can also be practiced at the third eye.
Um,
And it actually does activate the third eye chakra.
can you
And
we
that's
touch our thumbs too to our third
you
eye?
can.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
I love
can.
that.
And the thing is, I think you can be quite fluid with it, whatever feels right. I mean, if that doesn't feel right, it can be lower, it can be higher. It's just about entering into the feeling, really.
I love
So
that.
and this is a great one for a job interview as well.
Oh yeah. Right.
It is.
Or before, for teachers, right before you go into a class, right? Just take a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's a really beautiful mudra. It's just so, and people don't think it's weird if you're doing it, because people see it,
yeah.
so it's accepted.
Right.
Some
Right.
mudras you wouldn't practice in a job interview, but this one is fine.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got this
And
one. Yep. And we got the
yep, so
prayer one. Yeah.
Anjali, Hamsi.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hakini. Sorry, this is Hakini, and I wanted to talk about Hamsi next.
Okay.
And Hamsi is a really interesting mudra. It's the mudra of joy.
Ooh.
And so it actually does make you feel lighter, it boosts your mood,
Mm.
and it's done with one hand only. So a lot of mudras are done with two hands, but this one's done with one hand, and you just bring all the tips of the fingers together except the index finger.
Mm.
Index finger stays pointing upward, and you can just hold it next to you, and it really does work. Like, the funny thing is, my husband, when he does this, he actually starts laughing, and like, I don't think that's a common side effect, but it does. I think he's a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a bit unusual. It doesn't really happen to me, but I've had friends and other people practice it and give me feedback saying it has helped them, and I feel it really quite instantly, just a sort of a lightness. And I think, again, incorporating the breath.
Right. Well, we do a lot of this one with the, like, pretend it's a flower or another stem or like a pinwheel, and then we blow
That's
into it.
Oh, I love that.
So does it have to be over here? It can be in front of you, right? No,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So without even realizing it, yeah, we do that.
Yeah, I love
Just
that.
be more intentional around the mudra with the breathing.
Yeah, yeah,
It looks like
yeah.
a bunny as well, I feel like.
It
Yes,
does. It
yeah.
does.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. So you could be blowing the bunny's ear.
And another really lovely theme of this one is it dissolves obstacles.
Mm,
So that's why it lifts you. So anything that's been worrying you or troubling you, it's just a lovely one to try.
oh, I love it.
Mm.
And you said one hand, but you could do
Yes,
either hand, right? But
absolutely. I like to do it with my dominant hand, but it doesn't matter, whatever feels right.
yeah, whatever feels.
So
I love it. Two little
yeah,
bunnies.
yeah.
Love it. Oh, that's a good one. I love it.
That's
Have you got
great.
have you got another one or
Oh, yeah, I've got another one. This is probably one of my favorites. I've recently, I worked with it a while ago. Recently, I've been working with it quite a lot, and it's called Garuda Mudra. And Garuda means bird in Sanskrit, and it's meant to be the mystical bird that Vishnu rides. So what we're doing is we're taking the shape of bird wings with our fingers, and we put the right hand or the dominant hand in front, and then the left hand behind. Yep. And we just hook the fingers. That's it. And we spread the fingers. That's it. I mean, you can twinkle them. That's fun. And the lovely thing about this is using your imagination again and imagining that you are a bird in the sky,
mm,
and you're looking down on yourself practicing this mudra. So you're getting that really beautiful bird's eye view of the world. You might be in a beautiful meadow or somewhere in nature, and just feeling that expansiveness through the fingers. And it's really nice to practice around the heart or a bit lower, just wherever's comfortable. It actually activates the lower chakras.
mm.
And you can even, if you want, just before you start using the mudra, just place your hands on your tummy, sort of to feel that groundedness
Mm.
and to breathe in the tummy. with your hands there, and then you can take the mudra when you're ready, feeling that sense of opening through the heart. And it's such a beautiful mudra. I think the more I work with it, the more I realize how amazing this one is. It really taps into being able to express that inner beauty, shine your own unique radiance in the world. That's what this mudra is all about. So, and I think that's something that really needs to be celebrated, for children to just be themselves and to not be afraid. And this mudra supports that, as they learn, as they develop, as they grow. So it's a beautiful mudra.
I love that because there's two things happening. I feel like there's this with our thumbs in the middle, it's such a strong foundation. You can feel the strength. And then this coupled with this really cool feeling with your fingers, like you're spreading out. So it's both that we're totally grounded and also that we are, flying out of our safe zone and experiencing and learning and growing. And I love that. It feels simultaneously both grounding and active.
And light and active. And
Yeah.
I know it is. It's really amazing. And I'm still learning a lot about this mudra, but all the things that you've said, I've felt, and it just feels like there's so much to explore in this mudra. It's really special.
Now, what would you
Yeah.
say? So I imagine with children, like when we're practicing our yoga poses, for example, we're always encouraging children to make up their own, right? And so I imagine the same thing would happen here, right? With mudras that children want to make up their own or explore, or, what are sort of some tips on how they can create their own mudras?
Yeah, I really love we had a little bit of a conversation about this before, and there's so much scope for making up your own mudra. Like, when we talked about Anjali mudra at the beginning, it was all about a feeling. It's all about a feeling. So, you may want to encourage a child to, how do they feel when they dive into the ocean? And then to express that with their hands, whatever happens, their hands might be out here, or they might be in a diving position up here.
Oh, I love it.
Or they just might be like this because it's just such a beautiful feeling, and there's just no right or wrong whatsoever. So it's just about creative expression of a feeling. And in my own work, I've just some really simple ones that we all already know, hands on heart is just a feeling of gratefulness, of happiness to me, and, I like to practice that in my meditation work. And even just open palms is just so beautiful. Straight away, you feel like you're letting go of something and you're opening to a different way of feeling.
Love that.
And so there's so much scope. So I'm sure you've probably even just in this, you've probably had some feelings.
Yes, I know. I'm so excited. I want to like share with everyone and just like bring the intentionality. It's like that with everything we do, right? We speak to teachers and parents and caregivers, and it's all about they think, oh yeah, I'm already doing mindfulness. I'm already practicing yoga, but it's bringing that intentionality behind it, right? And so if we're already doing these things in class, just bringing some focus to it, some intention, sharing, get children curious. Did you notice how this feels? Getting curious, why do you think that feels that way? Or what can you feel the heat in there? Or, just having them explore it, right? It's so cool.
Exactly. And it creates, it creates a new level of sensitivity in their own bodies. So they're more aware of their energy, and of course the breath does that as well, but the mudras do that too. And it also creates more body awareness, more awareness of space. And there's only good, really, I feel, that can come of working with mudras.
I love it. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I really enjoyed this session. I learned so much myself too, which is fabulous. So how can we find you online, Emma? If our community would like to speak with you more, learn from you more, how can we find you?
Yeah, look, via my website, which is lovebreathspace.com. There's some, resources there that are free. And I'm also in the process of developing some proper live but online events around mudras and meditation. I'm also working on a little course I'm putting together. And I've also got an oracle deck about mudras coming out later this year, which is really exciting, through Blue Angel. So
Definitely let us
yes,
know when those come up, because when I was
thank
doing this
you.
research about mudras, I looked at all different kinds of decks, and yeah,
Yeah,
definitely let me
there's
know.
not, yeah,
Yeah,
there's not actually too much out there, but I'm sure, hopefully there will be a lot more out there soon. And with what you're doing, so we're all kind of spreading the word, which is really exciting. So
lovely.
thank you. Thank you,
Beautiful. Look at that. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you so much, my dear. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. Speak to you soon. Thank you.